V7s. And when Wrens lost the Wrens part, it was replaced by the Wolverhampton routes 81, 27 and 27A with the 82 being the original service to continue to serve these states, which is also a Wolverhampton operated route. However, the 81 in 2021 was reverted back to the main road and is now operated on behalf of Blackpool. NX2A continue to run the 81 on the Sundays and the late evenings, but now it's operated by Diamond Bus. And the 27 and 27A are also, was then rerouted after it serving the they then got rerouted via Stickley, and now they're also operated by Diamond Bus. There's been quite a lot of changes in the history of this route, and the two originally only operated between Merry Hill and Dudley, with the 2A being added on to serve the Wallows Road back in 2018. But more on that later on in the video. Okay then guys, we are travelling on the 2A service, just now going across the Wrens estate, and we are on our way to Merry Hill. And this was filmed on Friday just gone, so I do apologise if there's been any delays to uploading the video of the service. And so I just hope you enjoy the journey. Now, the 2A service was first introduced in 2018 to coordinate the times of the two, and at the time it only used to run between Merry Hill and Dudley, and it was originating previously as the 222, known as the 222. Now, the 222 service did at one time continue on to Halesowen, but it got shortened to Maryhill only. So that meant the two could not. So that means the 222 could no longer continue to Halesowen and just only operate between Maryhill and Dudley. And during 2016, I believe, the 222 underwent a massive upgrade with a fleet of ADL Enviro 200s and will be branded on the route to work the service. And the branded ADL Enviro 200s, which were allocated to Pensnet Garage, which this route is operated from, was to feature next stop announcements on their vehicles. This soon eventually followed with the number 1 service from Dudley to Technowood, and of course the platinum services, and even on the 4M from Maryhill to Walsall, along with the rest of the 4 corridor. But however, in 2018, the Sandwell and Dudley region underwent a massive overhaul, and routes were being renumbered. The 222, however, was renumbered to the 2 and the 2A, meaning the branding of the route was debranded and the next stop announcements were discontinued. But however, that wasn't always the case, because fast forward to today, it seems like the majority of the routes which are platinums will now feature next stop announcements on unofficial routes, which is probably going to be the new way. It's a bit like London and other certain cities that have the newly upgraded buses, but not all companies have yet installed that type of technology, but they will install them in the near future. But obviously anything could happen between now and then. And so the 2 and 2A were introduced, with the 2A to include Wallows Road, because obviously that section of the route was only served by 1 trip a day on the former Diamond 296 service from Stourbridge to Brockmore. So everyone decided to campaign to get a regular bus service to serve that estate on the Wallows Road, and it worked. So the 2 and 2A were introduced. So the 2 went via the existing 222, with the 2A turning slight off on Wallows Road. So anyway, we're just now arriving at Dudley Town Centre. Now, Dudley Town Centre, as you probably know, all bus services are currently terminating at temporary bus stops. So that includes Coronation Gardens, Castle Hill, Priory Street and the Evolve campus. This is while the Dudley bus interchange is being upgraded to also include the metro system. As you probably... So here we are, we're just now arriving at Dudley. So we're just also by the Mayor's Parlour. And I'm going to explain more on the route as soon as we leave Dudley bus interchange. And so anyway, over there you would have seen Top Church, which is where the iconic spire is on top, which is one of Dudley's most famous landmarks. But that isn't always the case, because you've also got the Dudley Castle as well, which sits in the grounds of Dudley Zoo. So anyway, here we go. We're now departing from Dudley Evolve campus, which is part of Dudley College, and we're on our way to the Maryhill Shopping Centre, which is down in Brierley Hill. So anyway, so the 2 and 2A were introduced. The 2A continued up until 2021, when there was a massive shake-up in routes. the two started to run more often because the route itself was extended to Wrens Nest Estate. Because obviously Pensnet used to serve the Wrens Nest Estate before on the classic Humboldt X96, which was one of the best routes that Pensnet Garage had operated. In 2018, the X96 was renumbered to the number 8, but it still continued to serve Wrens Nest Estate up until 2020, from when the 8 service was extended to Wolverhampton instead and was taken over by Wolverhampton Garage, meaning Pensnet no longer served the Wrens Nest Estate, and it spelt the end. And the 82, which is a Wolverhampton operated route which goes Dudley to Wolverhampton through Bilston, was the only original route to serve the Wrens Nest Estate. So at least that service had continued to make a big success over the last couple of years. And the 82 route, so the 82 was the only original service, with Diamond operating the service on the Sundays and the nights. So it was the only original service to operate through the estate. The replacement routes for the 8 on the Wrens Nest Estate included the service 81 from Dudley to Wolverhampton via Woodcross, and the 27 and 27A from Dudley to Wolverhampton via Gornal Wood. And those routes were not operated by Pensnet, they were operated by Wolverhampton Garage. But however, those routes were only short-lived on the estate, with the 81 reverting back to the main road to head back directly across the Priory and onto the Birmingham New Road. But this was soon subsequently taken over by Banger buses, with National Express West Midlands continuing to run the Sunday and nighttime journey before it was being passed over to Diamond Bus in 2023. The 27 and 27A route were rerouted via Stickley, swapping with the 17 route, with the 17 going direct to Gornal. And those routes continued to be operated by National Express until 2023, when the routes were subsequently taken over by Diamond the same time as the 81. There was a short-lived 2A service, which was part of the old Midland Red 272 service that covered part of this corridor, but it was only short-lived and finished in December, when the majority of the tendered routes were taken over by Diamond. Following the loss of the tendered routes that Pensnet operated, including the 18 from Dudley to Maryhill via Neverton, the 5 from Dudley to King Swinford, with the 5A going to All Heath, the 10A and 10C Stourbridge to Norton circular, including Pedmore and Old Swinford, and also the 28 from Stourbridge to Halzone via Maryhill. The 2A was reintroduced and to operate throughout the day, with the 2 returning to a peak time service. So obviously there's been a lot of changes across the corridor over the last few years, and the 2 and 2A are still going strong, with National Express West Midlands, with Pensnet Garage operating the service. And so we are going to be uploading more and more videos. Yes, the answer is yes. So here we go. We're just now heading away from Dudley now, just going past one of the iconic parks, which has a dual-like zip line. Well, there's obviously 2 zip lines. Obviously, I remembered going on zip lines back in my day when I used to visit parks. But obviously, those days I'm over. But obviously, here we go. We're now on our way towards... So we're now on our way down towards Russell's Hall Hospital, which is the biggest hospital, which is one of Dudley's main hospitals. And so here we go. You can see the 2 Dudley flats, the Clent and Claverley Court, and Butterfield is the standalone block which survives in Dudley today, up at Eve Hill. And obviously, you'd probably say it's just like the same height as the former Stevenson Tower in Birmingham. So we just passed a Diamond Bus right street light on the number 5 service from Dudley to King Swinford. Well, King Swinford to Dudley, which was one of the routes that was passed from National Express to Diamond Bus in 2023. As we now head down onto the Russell's Hall estate, as you know, we're doing a bit of a twist first, and then we're going to go through these housing estates. And this is a very, very popular route. Well, obviously, it's a route that's more like a community. It connects people to town centres, to hospitality, and also to the communities as well, because this is a very, very, very important route. And obviously, as you know, anything can happen in years to come, but for those viewers who enjoy watching my YouTube channel, they could be looking back and say, you remember this route? Remember when it used to go around these housing estates? And remember the buses that they rode on? Wow. So anyway, here we go. We're now on our way down towards the Russell's Hall area, where there's a row of shops, and there's the post office and shops. And I have to say, from my perspective, this route, the 2 and 2A, is a very good link up with the community. So the routes that Pensnet Garage operate, other than the 2 and the 2A, they've recently regained the 3 service from Merry Hill to West Bromwich off West Bromwich Garage, with West Brom only doing the peak time in the evening, and then the rest of the evening, and also on Sunday daytime. The route is operated by Carolean Coaches, which is a bus company and coach company in Bescott near Walsall. And also Pensnet do a few trips on the 3A shared with West Bromwich, because West Brom only do the short journey to Blackheath, called the 3A. And so West Bromwich Garage had the number 3 since 2018, replacing Pensnet's journey on the 289. If you remembered, Pensnet used to run the 289 with the B7s, and before that it was numbered the 238. As well as the 3s and the 2s, they also operate the 6 service from Dudley to Stalebridge, which features variety of different buses like double-deckers and singles, and it is more of a direct service between Dudley and Russell's Hall Hospital, but always check before you travel. But obviously I do like to do the scenic routes to these destinations because it makes it more popular. Then, of course, you've got the 7 service from Dudley to Wollaston Junction that goes by Merry Hill and Stalebridge and does take a little bit longer than the 6. And it covers surrounding areas. And then, of course, you've got the 9 service that goes from Stourbridge to Birmingham, which celebrates over 100 years last year. So you can't believe that the 9's over 100 years old. Then, of course, you've got the X10 connecting Birmingham and Gornal Wood, but Gornal Wood is only Monday to Saturday, while 7 days it's Merry Hill to Birmingham. And that's where the route, and the X10 is got platinum buses on. And so, yeah, the X10 is a very, very popular route. And then, of course, you've got the 11 and the 11A that goes from Dudley to Wednesbury and Walsall. And so there's a handful of good routes. And then, of course, you've got the 126 from Dudley to Birmingham via the Wolverhampton Road. The 126 did used to continue on to Wolverhampton, but that got shortened in 2018 just to run Birmingham to Dudley, with the Wolverhampton section at the time being replaced by the X7 from Birmingham to Wolverhampton via the City Hospital, and the X8 from Birmingham to Wolverhampton via Blackheath. And but however, the X7 was short-lived, and that soon stopped, and then it was replaced, and then the X8 just continued to be a route on its own between Dudley and Wolverhampton. But now you've got the number 8 service that goes to Wolverhampton, that comes from Wollaston Farm. That used to be the old Pensnet X96 that went from Wrens to Wollaston Farm until it was renumbered to the 8 in 2018. It did continue to serve Wrens until early 2020. And then the 8 was rerouted to Wolverhampton. And that was just before everything went pear-shaped. And obviously a handful of bus services were taken off, but some were reinstated. So some routes were reinstated after, and some diamond routes didn't return. Like, for example, the 146 didn't return, which was the old Redditch to Birmingham service. So, yeah, there was a handful of bus services that stopped operating after all those years. It brought an end to some Midland Red eras, like 2022 was when I did the last ever 144 route from Birmingham to Worcester, meaning Birmingham city centre lost a link to Bromsgrove and on to Worcester. But however, there is going to be some important information regards to that very soon, and I'm going to tell you when it comes closer to the date. And and Birmingham still do have a Worcestershire direct bus service from the city centre, but it's only during the peaks. It's the 50A that goes alongside the 50 between Birmingham and Maypole, with NX services going on to Druids Heath. And the 50A then combines part with the 150 going from Birmingham then on to Kings Heath, where it meets up with the 150 and then takes it all the way down towards Redditch. And that would be great if it ran throughout the day, but obviously, as you know, anything could happen nearer the time, but obviously it's just down to obvious. But like I say, anything is possible, but as well as that, you've also got the train service that will provide the link, which is on the Cross City line from Lichfield. So here we are. We're just now arriving at Russell's Hall Hospital, which is the biggest hospital, which is one of the main hospitals in the Dudley area, to include variety of bus connections. So Russell's Hall Hospital is here now. So we're here at Russell's Hall. This was also the terminus of the former 228 service that ran to Kindler, but that's now been shortened to Stelbridge and is now known as today's 242 service. So here we are, now arriving at the hospital, which is of course Russell's Hall. So we're now at Russell's Hall. So this is Russell's Hall Hospital. And so I'm going to make some more videos on this YouTube channel. Yes, I will be. And anything all depends on weather permitting, etc. Now, as you know, the outfit I was wearing was a blue tracksuit top. I even had, I think I had Adidas t-shirt on, and then I had tracksuit trousers on. Obviously, my coat wasn't required on the day because obviously, as you know, the coat weather is fading away. But obviously, it will have to come into place, maybe something like a light bomber jacket or possibly a water mac, a rain mac, depending on weather changes. But as you know, I'm going to start doing outfit reveals each day when I go out. So here we are, departing from Russell's Hall Hospital.